Good morning, good afternoon, good evening.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hello, yep.
I can.
Hey,
Hello.
Yes. Mr. Bockenheimer, how you doing, sir?
oh, not too bad. Hey, Daryl. All right.
I see Sankosh on there too.
Indeed. Hello, hello.
I'm just loading up the agenda. I just changed computers, so bear with me. Hmm. I'll be right back. I need to save the agenda on a
Uh,
different computer. All right, I think I got it. Mr. Perry, good morning.
Good morning.
All right, let me share my screen. So today should be a relatively short meeting. What every time I say that though, we use full time. Um, Really, there's only a couple things to do. One is talk about the pull request that was approved. Drummond pushed that in last night, and then next steps, as well as talk about cadence of a meeting, which I think if anyone saw Discord, I put a little poll in there earlier. What else we got here? Mr. Perry, see your hand up.
Yeah, I'm going to show my video.
Whoa,
Yes, that's shocking to everyone else that is
a little
behind
early in
their
the morning.
personas. There you go. So I did want to raise something that I need probably some assistance of this group.
Oh,
So I just wanted to add it to the agenda. So that's trust registries on the COG spec.
okay.
All right. All
Do you know
right.
which one
Back
you are,
behind the
Joe?
curtain.
Do you know which Scott Perry you are?
I don't know. I'm not the senator from Pennsylvania, that's for sure. Or the representative, sorry. I don't think he's a senator, he's a rep.
Hmm.
And he has different political opinions than I do.
Yeah, there's two of me apparently. Stellar.
Here you go.
Well, there's three Drummond, so
I'm the
cool.
more handsome Scott Perry. I don't know of the two.
Well, we will not get into objective, subjective truths today. It's a little early. And I got Mr. Timbo.
Seeing
Yeah.
as it's just different email accounts. Excellent.
Yeah, it was funny. So a year ago, Ira participated with the Linux Foundation and the First Person Project to discuss where they go with proof of personhood and whatnot. And one of the statements made was, "We know uniquely who you are because you can only have one LFX account." And it's just about everybody in the room was like, "Really?" They're like, "Well, we can fix that." So it was kind of comical because I at the time had two. I think I might actually have three now. And then I had one for GAN, which was a temporary name, but then had to create one for IRA when IRA partnered with Open Wallet Foundation. So yeah, it was kind of comical. But that aside, um, I should really add now. So if there's anything else to add, just let me know. If not, just remember we're operating under our IP rules, the antitrust competition rules. Um, quick update. So the major pull request, which was created to meet the needs of the steering committee checklist, the process, has now been approved. I went in, that was just basically, by no means just cosmetic, but it was not substantively changing the specification. It was changing the materials around the specification. So that's gone through. I went through all of the issues and have backlogged or closed the issues, the ones remaining. There are a few more that are backlogged that I think next meeting we should probably look at reviving to look at, what's next type of thing. Sankershan's work I left in there just as open issues that are backlogged, because they're really good at framing the what's next type of thing. More administrative things like we're not using spec up T at the moment. That I closed. It's not a substantive spec issue. It's a administrative coding or encoding issue, I guess it would be. So that's we're in a really good spot. But the new focus now becomes running the gauntlet. I don't know if that's the right phrase, but running the gauntlet um, for Siri committee approval, which I am now in the process of starting that. I don't pretend to know what the process involves, but I have committed to, I think Carly said it, April 15th is
Yep.
the review day, and I'll make sure we have a review package ahead of that. I'm going to try and get that package together in the next week because
Yes,
I go on a 2.5 week vacation.
get it to me 2 weeks in the next steering committee meeting. Get it
Yep,
that package to the next, which is
yep,
in just under 2 weeks.
yep. Question I have for you is who do we need on the review committee?
I
I've asked somebody to help chair, but how many people do we need and who are they? What kind of people are we looking for?
Drummond, I am arguing. Mackie keeps thinking that we need externals, and I think that's totally inappropriate.
I thought you may have seen I've been by no means fighting. I think Mackie's got some input and stuff. The we're already under, as Mackie has agreed, we're already going through the process. He's talking about a future process. So
Okay.
the getting externals in is just like, come on, what do you think we've been doing here for 3 years?
Yep.
But I
Yep.
understand that we do need the steering committee to harden or improve their process, has obviously has the rights to do that. But
Uh,
so you said Drummond.
yeah. So Drummond, how many we did not give a number for the size of the review committee.
Right. I don't think it has to be larger than 12 or 15 people. So we'll just,
Good. I'll give you one of them. One of them right here.
One for each Linux Foundation account membership.
Yeah.
let's say again.
We were talking about how all of us have multiple Linux Foundation
Yeah.
membership accounts. So, by
Yeah.
the
So
time,
Drummond, you're three of them.
yeah.
No,
Yeah.
we are. I am officially now. I got to change my address. We First Person Cooperative is officially a member now. So that will. But yes, I think I thought we did specify that there had to be at least three.
No,
Did
that's
we not?
nice.
And where from where do we draw those people? These one at least has been the steering committee, or
One has to be a steering committee member. Yes, and
okay.
I'm certainly willing to do that.
So trust review task force people are permitted to be on that committee?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. No, it doesn't.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
the point in the end. We just have to fulfill the process.
And
Okay.
I'm in the midst of writing I'm still working on trying to better document to make it more smooth, the DOI assignment, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. As
Yes,
you know, I
Carly
got
is
the
our
draft
DOI
DOI.
expert.
I
What's
got the
yeah,
that?
D. Yeah, she and
Daryl
I are
got
going to be the experts. I,
Mhm.
I,
You have a
I've
DOI.
got the DOI. Yeah, we have a DOI now. So that's been provided, and that'll be part of the package. But I will be doing that. I'll be circulating that. I'm going to be trying to push for that to be done in the next 2 weeks. The reason being is on the 21st, I disappear for 2.5 weeks to Australia. So um, I don't
I
think the
add
package is overly onerous, though.
no, I added some helpful things to the to one of the I sorry. I added some helpful questions to the form that you fill out. It's not it's what is your DOI and what is the URL, the permalink URL that you need to derive. So just make sure that you always follow the updated the form, but nothing
Yep.
is severely changing process or anything like that. It's just trying to add clarity as we
Okay.
go through.
Yep. Okay. That's great. I'll be reaching out to Mackie to say, hey, do you want to be part of this committee too? Again, I fully disagree that well, I don't disagree that externals are needed, but if the process is going to change, it needs to be changed formally. That needs to be announced and shared. Governance. We shouldn't be making trust over IP should not be making radical governance changes because someone wants something. It needs to go through a full governance process and stuff because if you change the game, you got a whole army of volunteers who've been putting years of time into this
Yes,
to hit
100%.
a moving target.
Oh no, I agree, and I'm sorry that this draft procedure is so much of a moving target, but we're really
No,
it's not too much. It's
it's a
like
great thing to beef up, right? There's a difference between full governance policy change and
yeah,
procedure process change, right?
yeah.
We as Trust RP, I mean, I'm one of the original, gang of four. We created this to have good governance, right? That's why we created Trust over IP. The fact that we have now got three or four specifications pumping through the pipeline. When the first one makes contact with the pipeline, it's like, uh-oh, we need to adjust process and procedure to do this. And we had a rough idea, but turns out it wasn't good enough. Great, refine it. But to fundamentally say, hey, this working group over here is now the arbiter, that's a major governance change. That's something we have to make sure. That's a constitutional level change. You need to really wrap your head around and say, is this what we really want? Which, may very well warrant discussion.
I get
I put
excited when you say arbiter, by the way. You
You get
yeah,
excited or I get excited?
you
I
gotta
get
hold it back.
excited.
I put the Google Docs of the current draft deliverable process, which I'm filling out. It's in the chat, and that's based on what had been approved by the steering committee. And now like I said, I'm filling
Cool.
it out as I go through to add what we've learned and to try and just make it more helpful.
Cool.
Did I miss something? Where's this arbiter stuff coming from?
I will tag you. There's a discussion going on in the process document. I will load it up right now. I think it's there. Um, if you look through here, you'll recall the days. I remember Drummond. There was one not well. Those contentious. There was a 67 comment long thread. Here. Uh, yeah, this right here. You responded to it. This thread here.
Oh
That
my goodness.
Well,
That's
I must have been
I'll
very
send.
early in the
Yeah,
thread.
you were very early. It was in December. I'm going to send a link to you.
Okay.
Get a link. I'll send it to you. I'll drop it in the
Yeah,
chat.
put that in Signal
Yeah.
if you can. That would be
A short
great there.
short
Or
summary of
that's
this
fine.
is short summary of this I would say is that Mackey's proposing that the EGWG, the Ecosystem Governance Working Group,
Right.
be a gatekeep not gatekeepers is situating the estimate. That's
strategic
be
aligner.
what's that?
Strategic aligner.
Being some sort of a body that filters things before it goes to the steering committee and brings in external people and stuff like that to do another whole set of reviews before it goes to any steering committee type of thing.
I
So this is a
I
fundamental shift that you've now gone from trust over IP steering committee with working groups to trust over IP with a super working group that
yeah.
rules them all. To me, that's a governance no way change. That's my personal opinion. That needs to
Yes,
be up to
yes.
the
Yes.
steering committee to figure out, but it's a substantive governance change. And I looked at it and went, yeah, no. So we'll see.
Well, the only way that that can happen is if the steering committee proxies that group. to
I 100%,
administer
100%.
activity. That's it.
Well,
That's
and
the
that's the steering committee's choice. And I would caution the steering committee, this is not how things are done in Linux, nor Eclipse and other forums, because then you have a superpower that causes volunteers to say, no, thank you. And that's the
Yeah.
whole engine of trust over IP. I mean, it can do whatever it wants. Suggest it doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was not. I'm just saying. I'm reading the thread now,
Yeah. I like
and I just
Sankarshan. Sankarshan has a great comment. How do you arrive at this exclusive club of invited experts? Sankarshan, if I knew that, I would have made it to the parties in high school on Fridays. If I knew the answer to that.
so
Probably involved.
I was not at all aware of this dialogue, and my initial
Yeah.
reaction is the same, which is no, we're not.
Yeah.
E.g., I mean, I can understand that we want to evolve ecosystem governance to be, the best working group it can be, but it should not be the super group that
Yeah.
that this is the steering committee's job
Yeah.
to do final approval on anything brought before it for trust or IP approved status. So
Yeah. And I mean, underneath that, I mean, what I always look at when things like this happen, right? Underneath that is what's the driving force? What's causing someone to make that recommendation? I don't think I think the, clearing working group, whatever, clearinghouse working group concept is deeply, deeply flawed. The drive behind that is, I'm sure Maki just wants us to be better, wants our work to be, world renowned, and may see that this is something, I mean, he wants to see more external people. I mean, I would love to see more external people. The difficulty is in the earlier stages of these things is they don't exist. I
right,
guarantee you, not guarantee, but I am relatively certain that the TRKP version 2.1 or version 3 community is going to be much, much larger because the whole world is talking about trust registries now. Thank you, John.
yep,
So I see this as a two-part problem. One is that we have topics that are not just limited to us working at Trust over IP. I mean, I think in the past 15 days, I have gone through 85 different AI governance uh, ideas coming out from probably equal number of groups. So there are far too many experts out there. That's one. The second thing is, uh, if we really want more and more people to validate what we are doing and acknowledge that this is top-notch work, I think the problem lies in being able to socialize this effectively rather than not being just not going out and seeking people.
Yeah.
To me, it seems like we need to be more socializing what we are doing to be able to draw people to our work and make it a default approach from them.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I would characterize that. Yeah, that's a very good characterization, Sankarshan. The action is more of a tail wagging the dog. We would love to see more interest in real, unambiguously expert people leaning in on this. But to your point, those who are out there who don't know of us, they don't know of us. They're not going to be invited in. We don't know who they are. But when we are known and more socialized, they will attract those people. I'm just making a note here of this thread. Mr. Boma.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. Like, the broader community just wants to know that the document followed a due process as transparent and it hasn't been captured by specific interests. So you don't have to go like super
Yeah.
formal. Like again, like I've had quite a bit of exposure to accredited standards development organization work, and there's a whole process to make sure that you have good representation of stakeholders, everything's minuted and all that kind of stuff. So honestly, I think you just need like a committee of three would do the job. Like someone that's from the working group itself, someone from the steering committee, and someone that's part of Trust over IP that hasn't been directly involved in the work. And I think that's all you need.
Yeah, and
Like
that's
at the end, Yeah,
Yeah, the directly involved is one that's critical because we need to find who's willing to spend that time that hasn't been directly involved.
yeah. So the idea is that you have three interests, like one at the steering committee to make sure that like the organization still has the credibility or whatever. Number one or number two is someone that's involved knee deep in the work and understands it, and someone that has a passing familiarity that doesn't know everything, but can recognize that things are on the rails or off the rails. I think
Right.
that's all you need. Like, just
Yeah.
keep it really simple.
Cool.
And to Shankerson's point, I think the key thing is that the document has to be socialized after the fact. Like, I don't think people are going to say, "Oh, this document's blessed by a committee and it's the authoritative thing," and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
It really, it's basically it's just a starting point.
Yep. Good. That's really good input, Tim. So thinking hats, we do need to find someone to participate on this that is, I like your term, has passing familiarity, but is not deeply involved or not involved.
Yeah,
Well, here's a question
correct.
for you, Tim.
Sure.
And I think is Dan, you're still on the call, Dan. I'm wondering if Dan
Yep.
Bockenheimer might be someone like that would fit that need. Dan, you've been on the periphery. You've been involved in these meetings, certainly, but largely speaking, I think you've been observing. Would you call yourself somebody who's not directly involved but has a passing familiarity?
Yeah. I agree with all your assertions, and I've been staying involved with SIDI City, the
Yeah, yeah,
Sustainable and Interoperable Digital Identity, and they're still churning along, but it's very open ID focused. But yeah, and
yeah,
that's been what I've been doing. They'll create some documents, and I'll add the trust over IP references and what we're doing with the our protocols and providing links to the glossary and all that. Yeah,
yeah.
so I've been doing that with City. I could probably do that here as well.
Awesome. Because my next question was, would you be willing to be on that review committee? And I will. How about we say yes?
Yeah. If it's a few
It,
hours, a
yeah,
week.
it should be on that order. Dan, I'm the one going
Yeah.
to put the package together, but I'm going to try and grab if you're our external Drummond, you're a steering committee. I would be involved in it, but I'd also like to see Eric Drury. I've asked him to step in as well because he provides a yet another view, another viewpoint, another context. Cool.
Yeah. You could throw my name in there, sure.
Drummond,
Yes.
I have added then I have added to our approved deliverable process draft where it said propose, you have to tell us who the committee members are. And then I say a recommended committee consists of at least three members, the steering committee member, someone closely involved with the work, and someone not directly involved but has passed.
Yeah,
So
that's really
I've
good.
added that to the
Yeah.
uh,
And this is the difference, Carly. This is the difference with Carly, as I was mentioning. We've always had the steering committee as the final decision authority, and this we had I would call it a very lowercase process, right? And we've made contact with it's like, uh-oh, we need a little more process, and this is how it works, right? We have
yeah,
people
yeah.
who are governance savvy, people who understand, where there are you when you really truly go off reservation and need constitutional level change versus the refinement we just made here with Tim providing the idea that you need at least three people who provide the transparency and non-capture. You want to see the steering committee, who's the decision body. You want to see someone who's involved in the work, and you want that somebody who's not directly involved but has a passing familiarity and gets standards. And
Yeah.
that's a really awesome
And
pass.
and I still need to put up a place. All the forms will be filled out, and then those results will be made accessible for public review in the future on the Trust over IP wiki Confluence.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So I'm happy to put my name in too. Like, my primary
Awesome.
concern is that it's a document that's produced best effort and good faith. And I might not agree with everything, but the more important thing is that the process um, the process is in good faith. That's the most important thing. Um, and I can always like any technical differences
Awesome.
or whatever. I don't need to. I'm willing to put my name
Perfect.
beside the document. That's the thing.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you.
Good. Give me feedback as you go through the process, and I will adjust the draft to become more realistic.
Well, you're going to open up a can of worms there, Carly. I mean, I know you're
Okay.
from Canada, but is it process or process?
Okay. I just I not only responded to the thread, but then I put something in the chat. And it's I've become convinced that we're overlooked, that we need to push external review into the public review process and make it the responsibility of the working group to have already gone through that, so that when we get to the steering committee review, yes, we should have, and we should be explicit about it, at least three members, one of which needs to not have been directly involved with the work. And so that all we're doing is making sure the
Yep.
checklist is complete and external public review, external expert involvement in public review has already
Yep.
been completed. Much
Which
simpler
we did
process.
twice. We did twice. I mean,
Exactly, exactly.
I would love to have
And
seen a dozen people who came in and had to get LFX accounts. But we did get a whole bunch of people that were not on the Trust Registry Task Force. That's all I'm
oh,
getting.
folks don't, to make a comment, do you have to have an LFX account to make a comment?
No, that's right. That's right. The GitHub, you have to have a GitHub account.
You have a GitHub, but that's I don't consider
Yeah.
that to be a bar that should.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, but that suggestion is
Yep.
is a steering committee process document review
Yep.
topic that I'm happy to follow up separately, Carly, with you and Scott.
Yep.
And
Actually,
we can
I'm
just
going back
get this
through time in my head, messy file system that I have. I believe we ended up with new Trust Registry Task Force folks who were active in the second review after the public one, the first one, after the first public review.
right. We
It drove a
did.
lot of it. It drove a lot of attention. It really leveled it up. We had a like our population changed after the first public review.
Well, which is one of the goals of a public review.
Yeah. Yeah, it is to Sankashan's point, socialization.
Yep.
Perfect. All right. So as I said, short meeting today. I used the curse words of short meeting. We're only halfway through. So it looks like I think we've probably hammered this to death, at least to the point that it's now in my hands. I'll take the lead on building the package up, and I'm gonna I'll reach out to everybody here. Um, and we know the results we want of the review need to go into the Trust RIP wiki, but I'll take point on that. Separate item comes down to now that we're at this stage, we're at this exciting stage that Drummond will be very excited because he may have fewer 7 a.m. meetings for Trust Registry Task Force. Um, but I put a poll onto Discord. I just realized I don't run Discord as nearly enough because I'm actually just getting a whole bunch of patches right now. I'm curious. I was happy to see that the poll um, made it out. I'm just looking at comments here. Oh, actually. Great. So the everyone tag is for the whole Discord, not this channel. Is there a channel freaking notification
Isn't it
in
here?
Discord?
Isn't it
Nope.
here?
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I chicken out every time I am about to write one of those. Ooh. Shit.
I don't care. But it looks like okay, so the poll results, if I look at the poll results, I will just drop it in here. I mean, it's by no means done, but I think it's done. When I say that, I don't want to be that guy. Um, we do have an 13 to 1 favoring of going to monthly, which I think is probably a more reasonable cadence given where we are. However, I would love to see working into an asynchronous set because, yeah, Sankarshan's got. But here's the question I have. Um, if the person who said weekly is on, because here's what I've learned. When I've done polls, it's the outliers that provide new intelligence of why, what's got you so concerned that if I saw on this poll 13 on monthly, 5 on biweekly, and 1 on weekly, I wouldn't be as concerned. You have a skew. But now we have a one gap, like biweekly, not even picked. But somebody thinks we still may. I wonder if somebody here voted for weekly and if there's a reason that there's enough work to do on a weekly basis. Is anyone on the call that person and willing to speak? I don't want to call you out because I don't even know who it was. And if not, we can just probably, like Sankarshan said, wrap it. In which case, I will take the action to deal with who is it we deal with? Support at Linux Foundation, Carly?
Yep.
Support, yeah. to get it. And what I'm going to do is try and pick. There is one set of meetings. What we we have an alternating cadence for those who don't know. Every 2 weeks we have an afternoon meeting on the Pacific Coast that is for the APAC region. That right now is perfectly timed with the UN, what's it called? Global Trust Registry?
No, it's
Yes.
called the Global Register Information Directory, right?
Yeah, Grid. Okay, they came up with a better name. Global Trust Registry triggered a few people. But that meeting is
Yes.
perfectly overlapping with that. So what I would like to do is make sure that we are offset on that we don't actually overlap with that one because it causes the folks in APAC who are actively working on the UN's trust registry initiative to become conflicted. So if there's no difference of opinion, I will work on getting that done with support. Anyone else? Okay.
So yeah, whatever if it's just a matter of switching to a monthly, all it takes is a single email to that
Yeah.
address. And the one recommendation is you have to be just very explicit. I usually take a screenshot of the calendar entry that I want that needs to be adjusted so they know exactly the one to go in and change. And they're really good. They always get it done within 24 hours and sometime within an hour or two.
Okay.
I put the
Okay.
link, the email addresses in the chat.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. All right. So no other commentary. Let's close off on that and make some time. Thank you, Scott, for being patient. Scott, you wanted to mention trust registries on COG.
Yes. Yeah, a couple of things. Just so one of the things that I think is important to this group is that Daryl has been active and helpful in the last, I think, three COG meetings. COG is a joint venture with Trust over IP, so I can talk a little bit about that. And there is interest in trust registries. There's no question about it. So now that we've had a series of, moves and this and that, the first step to get, the connective tissue associated with it is creating an issue saying that we need to have a trust registry URI in the spec, right? And so I've done that. And on Monday's COG working group meeting, I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Now, the step after that, an issue doesn't do anything. What actually does something is putting in a pull request for updating the spec itself. And so I've been left with kind of a question about how do you apply a trust registry URI? Do we mandate a DID? You know, I want to be I want to make a move that's kind of far thinking and a simple, PR. I want to make sure that we're making the right decision based on where everything is moving. I want to expose the COG assertion to a trust registry because we've been spending time with the industry groups to saying, if you want to control the use of certain metadata tags that industry owns, you're going to have to create your own ecosystem, and the front of that would be a trust registry. Now, in C2PA, we have one central one that's separate. As I see in the COG, which is individuals making attributions and organizations making attribution to things that humans can do, that I believe is going to be the trust registry of trust registries because, there's so many applications that can be used. And there's many, as we have already been courting, there's many identifiers that industry groups, just in the talent area, wants to affix. And great, we're going to give them a spot to do that in the spec. But as far as who gets to do that, COG is not going to do that. The only thing that COG is also going to do is saying, go, here's a trust registry to go find out who should affix attribution for your identifier. And we need to have a placeholder of trust registries in the spec. So I need assistance into writing a PR. I can do it, but I want to make sure that the PR on the COG spec has basis in what we're doing here in the Trust Registry Task Force and things that are happening at the UN and things that are happening in the EU. I want to make sure that this is interoperable, and that it has some basis in that. So that's my comment. I also put in the, did I make it in the, I thought I put it in the chat. Yeah, I put it in the chat, um, a webinar that's happening on site at the Capitol, but you can chime in through YouTube for a meeting that's being held by a representative of the United States Congress that gets it, and members, really significant members of the C2PA, including Andy Parsons, who I report to. And I'm thinking, he may be the new executive director. There's Andrew Jenks of Microsoft is currently, and there's some questions about whether he's taking a leave of absence. And I work very closely with Andy, and I work closely with Andy's team, including Eric Scouten, who is my co-chair at COG. So every, I view this. I asked Andy. I said, "This is a very significant meeting." I mean, Andy was just in India, where Modi, the president, basically mentioned the C2PA because he was mentioning, uh, he mentioned nutritional labels on content, and that's really what the effort in the marketplace has been saying. The content credentials is kind of like a nutrition label. So he mentioned that specifically in the kickoff of the AI summit, and then his ministry of IT joined a panel with Andy Parsons that was kind of like a rock show because it was public. Anything public in India, I mean, you just get hordes of people. And Andy thought he was, I said, India is a very special place, and you just landed there, and people are very interested. They do have a law on the books to identify and content, so I'm very confident and I see this from my position as administrator of the C2PA conformance program. And I was pleased to say that I did get extended in my contract. They have given me all the confidence. This is happening. And I do believe that this content provenance and authenticity is going to give rise to the best use case that trust over IP and a lot of stuff is happening. So, because it's happening, it's not theorized. We are now in the pivot spot where governments, and this meeting is coming up in an hour, is saying yes, we need to enforce it. I was also informed last week directly by Joe Jackson, who's the CTO of the state of Utah, who said, "Oh, by the way, Scott, we have a similar law in place that's going to get signed by the governor that also deals with content provenance." And so, and yeah, comment?
Yeah, Richard Voderbrugi's was on that. I see he just retired from FBI. I've known him for over a decade. He's from their he's a facial identity expert contributing to the biometrics community, and it's really interesting that he's participating in content authenticity. And that was the main thing that brought me, interest there is how do we know, for identification, how do we know that this photo is authentic, where this video is authentic when you or voice when you're trying to identify somebody. So it's really interesting that Voderbrugi is there. He's an independent consultant now, at least last I heard, but
Well,
that's his FBI picture.
yeah, but it says in the bottom of that, it says UL Digital Safety Research.
Yeah.
I think
And it says
UL wants to
retired
see a
FBI.
play.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
he
does say
wants to,
retired.
UL wants to have some play. Now, what you'll see happening now that we've reached that kind of stage of, yeah, I think this is a thing that we're going to start to do, then certain different components will come out of the ether to try to grab access to it, which is not a bad thing. It's telling me that there is some momentum. And, yes, I think the world was waiting for Apple, and Apple issued a whole, separate issue around all their content, all their new products that didn't mention the C2PA. Um, I'm not worried about it anymore. I think I believe, and separately, but I believe that Apple is going to come along eventually because I am seeing, that there's no alternative. And now once that this becomes law in a lot of places and they're using the C2PA and the COG as part of their legislation, conformance process, I think we're done. I think this is going to happen. So I want to make sure, and I want to be very careful about any kind of updates to the COG standard because I think there's going to be a lot more eyes on COG. And that's what I've been doing consciously for the last year, is trying to take it, I mean, Eric Schouten has done a great job just caretaking it, but he did it for Adobe. And I think it's wider, much wider. And I think Eric agrees with that. So we're trying to make sure that we're globally accommodating, including a very key update, which would include trust registries. So I didn't want to take too much more time with that, but I do need assistance, whether Drummond, you're going to attend these meetings or everyone else here, I want to make sure that the trust registry update is the best we can offer. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you, Scott. And just for folks, I've been attending fairly regularly. The group is very aware of the business and governance issues behind what they do. So you have groups who are managing recording artists, screen actors, press credentialing, and similar. And they're aware of that they already have the governance and the operational processes by which they're doing that, and then they're understanding that it's hard to share that information externally in a reliable, trustable way. So they're quite a savvy business governance group. Mr. Reed.
Yeah, I'm piling on to just say, plus one to everything that Scott has said. It may well turn into the, quote, killer app or killer use cases for trust registries early on, because of the sort of clear need. It also, ties into the work we're doing in the Decentralized Trustcraft Working Group, because we're now proposing and are going to have a task force on agent names as a specific mechanism for, you know, content creators to sign digital content, to give them the mechanism that they need to make it cryptographically verifiable and tie into that. But how are you then going to, verify other information about that agent name? Well, content registry. I mean, trust registries. So, yeah, I think it's a really good thing that we should lean into, and support what Scott's proposing in terms of helping them figure out the mechanisms they actually want to use. That's all.
Sorry, just a procedural quick thing before we go. Scott, are you coming to the ecosystem and governance meeting with the presentation from Realize next?
Yes, I will be there because I am affiliated with the company, and I'll make sure that I allocate that as a priority.
Hey,
Carly, just to note, I had to, because I'm tied up the rest of the day, I had to schedule a conflicting meeting at that. So I will not be there, or at least not for the outset, just to let you know. But
Okay.
yeah, it's unfortunate, but as Scott knows, Realize has recently presented to the first person project. So I'm pretty, pretty
Up
well
to
up
date.
to speed.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
I'm going to renege on that. I'm sorry, but I am going to come in. I've got so many, oh my God, I got so many conflicts, but I have, it's very rare, but I've created an issue for the C2PA to consider. It's a governance
Okay.
issue. But Leonard said that he would take mine first. So I'm gonna hopefully go as soon as I'm finished in presenting my case to the C2PA. I definitely want to catch that presentation.
Okay.
So
So you won't be there to
probably
give any.
within the first 15 minutes. So I will not be available to introduce him.
Awesome. Thank you. Just now I have to go quick and study up. Okay. That's thank you for letting me do some meeting
Awesome.
prep.
Well, thank you for reminding me of, now the conflicts that I have at just that 1 hour. So.
All your other meetings.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, if there's nothing else, folks, we can give back 10 minutes of the day. It was a shorter meeting, not a short meeting. Dan, I'm going to reach out to you with regards to a biometric initiative as well, since
Sure.
you're kind of the guy.
All right. Yeah, happy
Cool.
to see
Awesome.
what I could do. All right. Cheers, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.